When it comes to power in the golf swing, every single amateur seems to want to know, how do you hit it so far? How do you hit it further? Where does power come from in the golf swing? I'm going to make it really simple for you. There are basically three sources of power in the golf swing: leverage, width, and rotation. When it comes to those three things, most people think of the golf swing as being 100% rotation. That's where they get all their power. That's why you see the golfers go to the top of their swing and then turn their body as hard as they can. And then what happens is they tend to lose the other two. They lose some width and they lose some rotation. So let's quickly kind of go through what those things are, and so we can get a really clear picture of what it is and how you balance all of these things out. Simply put, leverage is just, the easiest way to understand, it's just angles here, right? So think of like a hammer. I have an angle here, there's potential energy because my wrist can move in this direction, and so there's energy here. If I hit you on the head, it's not going to feel great. So that's leverage. Width, simplest way to think about it, the biggest circle that you can make. Simple way of thinking about it, the wider that circle is, the more time the club has to accelerate. And there's other physics at work here as well. As this part's moving at a certain speed, the outer part of the circle has to move faster to keep up with it. So the wider the circle, the more potential there is for speed. Simple way to think about it, if you're hitting a wedge, just because of the shorter shaft, even if you put a driver head on a wedge shaft that's really short, still not going to go as far as a driver. There's not as much potential speed because the shaft isn't as long, so you're losing width, okay? And the last one is what I was just talking about, is rotational power. Obviously, the rotary swing, we want to use rotation. The golf swing is essentially rotary based. And so, but what the key is we want to learn to balance all of those things out. Where most golfers go wrong is that they overemphasize rotation and it costs them leverage and width. So what I mean by that? So let's say I go to the top of my swing, I've got some leverage, I've got some width, my hands are out here, I've got a long shafted club, so I've got a lot of potential energy. I didn't swing like this and really narrow. That's not going to give me any width, right? So there's not a lot of time for me to accelerate the club, but as I take the club out in a nice big wide circle here, I've got some width. But now where the most mistakes are made is that as I go from here, now I'm going to rotate my body as hard as I can. Well, what happens is all of a sudden, my club is going to tend to want to get thrown out away from me because I'm rotating so fast, I'm creating a lot of centripetal force. The result of that is going to be centrifugal force. So the hands, the wrists, are going to tend to lose their leverage as the body spins too fast. You want rotation in the swing, but it has to be balanced out. So the other thing that you have to think about is where most of your speed actually comes from, relatively, is leverage. And that is the release of this right wrist angle in the swing. That's where the majority, about 60% of your club head speed comes from. So at all costs, you want to protect that. The last thing I'd want to do is rotate so hard and fast that I lose my leverage from my wrist angles. So what I want to learn to do is balance all of these things out, having a nice wide swing, which gives me a lot of time to build up speed, coils up my body so I do have the ability to rotate, but I want to protect leverage. I want to protect this angle. This is our baby here. We don't want to lose this too soon in the swing by spinning out, and then all of a sudden we don't have any leverage to hit with at the bottom. Imagine using a hammer and not cocking your wrist and just trying to hit a nail like that. It's not going to go very well. So if I had to prioritize things in the swing when it comes to hitting the ball further, you want leverage as your primary piece. You've got to always preserve width, and then you want to start to use rotation to help accelerate all of those things together. But above and beyond all else, protect leverage. That's your most powerful, most efficient move for speed in the swing. And then you slowly learn to blend all those things together, going through the videos on the website, learning how to shift your weight, learning how to maintain your width in the takeaway, to get to a wide spot at the top, etc. And then you'll start to understand how power and speed is developed in the golf swing.